Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nuance Needed podcast. I'm here with Edie Stark today, who is an eating disorder therapist. How are you today, Edie?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I know. I'm so excited to chat with you. We're going to dive in today because Edie was on Jubilee with Jillian Michaels and actually debated her. You were the first person, at least in the video, that
in the
debated
edit. That's
her.
not actually how it happened, which I'm happy to talk about. That's not how it actually went down, but that's how they chose to throw me into the lion's den. So.
And you debated Jillian Michaels, which, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the body positivity movement, so much there. But before we dive in, do you want to give people just like an overview of your background, your clinical work, your experience?
Yeah, so I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have been in the field for 15 years. I started out on the research side of things. I got a master's in social psychology. And then when I was writing my dissertation, I was like, ooh, absolutely not. I don't like statistics. My favorite part of this was like talking to people and getting their stories. And so I had like a real crisis moment where I was like, it was like to go to get my PhD. And I was like, I am not doing this. And so that was in England, and I came back to the States and had a year where I was like, and applied back to school and then went to get my clinical degree in social work, and then have been doing the clinical side of things since then. But my specialization is in eating disorders through a fat liberation lens. And I've worked in all levels of care. I love it.
Amazing. Yeah. So how did you get invited to do this? How did this all happen?
It was really random. They sent me a DM that I didn't see for a while. It was in my like request folder, which I very rarely go in there because it's, especially now, but I very rarely go in there because it's, usually spam or like weird messages. But for some reason I did, and I saw it. And again, at first I thought it was like, I didn't know what Jubilee was. I had seen surrounded clips like randomly because they're very viral. And I looked it up after I saw it, and I was like, oh wow, they have like over 10 million subscribers on YouTube. Like this must be pretty legit. And so I wrote him back, the producer back, and I was like, I have so many questions. So because he was basically saying like, we are interested in having you come on to debate a fitness influencer around body positivity. And I was like, there is only one person that this could be because of the way that the show works. After I like researched it, and when I was speaking with the producer, I asked straight up, I was like, is it Jillian Michaels? And being a producer, he was like, I know they don't see us, but I was like, he was like, no, that's a good guess, but like, and like shaking and nodding. But for the most part, you don't know who you're debating going into it. It's supposed to be a secret. But there was no other person that I believed it could have been. You also don't get the debate topics until 24 hours before.
Oh, okay. What did you do to prepare? Did you do anything to prepare?
Well, unfortunately, I watched her like clips of her podcast on her Instagram, which I would not
I was going to say, I've never ventured over there.
Because it's not like what I remember of her was just from The Biggest Loser, which I watched. So like, I also want to like, I actually found like, I was like a Facebook memory popped up, like actually as I was doing this research of like me saying back in the day, like, I love The Biggest Loser. So like, I watched it and enjoyed it. This is way before I got into understanding anti-fat bias and fat liberation. And so like, and again, like one of my like main value points is like a willingness to be wrong, a willingness to learn and unlearn. I think that's what makes me a good therapist and a good learner. I said that actually on the show when I was wrong, but like I was sucked into that. And then actually, I think by like the second season, I was like, oh, wait, this feels off and like
Yeah.
shaming and like not great. And then as I got into like the clinical work that I was doing and like watching the repercussions of people doing dramatic weight loss and eating disorders and knowing that like this could actually activate someone's eating disorder, I was like, oh no, this is the antithesis of what I want to be. But that's what I knew her from. And then when I was doing research, I was like, oh, she has done a shift in what she's focused on. And now she is very much MAHA, Make America Healthy Again,
Yes.
MAGA. She has now also aligned herself with racist rhetoric and transphobia. And so I was like, well, this person is like the antithesis of the value points that I stand for. And that was another really challenging part for me.
Yeah.
Knowing that I was going to go into the room with her and knowing like that was off the table.
Yeah.
Like that was not something that we were going to be allowed to talk about.
Especially MAHA, there's so many like holes you could poke in it, and to not be able to do that.
Yeah. Although I did get to do that.
Yeah.
Because one of her talking points was about MAHA.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I got to be like, you're being hypocritical.
Yeah.
But that was hard because I was like, you are making the world, in my opinion, an unsafe place, not only for fat people, but for a lot of people who are discriminated against every day.
Totally. How did you decide to be willing to do it? Because I have to say, I don't think I would have said yes. I don't think I would have been able to do it. Or I would have said yes and probably like panicked and never raised my hand to go up or anything like that.
Yeah. It was, so when I spoke with the producer, I asked a ton of questions. One of my big concerns was representation. I was like, who are you asking?
Yeah.
I was like, I am not the expert on true body positivity.
Yes.
I am a thin, white, very privileged person, a person who holds a lot of privilege. I was like, so I don't want to be the spokesperson. Like, that's not fair. But also, are you creating a safe environment for people who are in fat bodies to go up on this platform and be in this arena? Because I also knew a lot of fat activists who had said no.
Yeah.
And so I was like very torn around that. From what he told me, they were creating safety nets. That has not happened. So I'm like, but what you know when this making decision making. What I felt like in my, again, like checking with my core values, I was like, I am an activist.
Yeah.
I speak out openly on my Instagram all the time. So I was like, this just feels like another bigger arena to do that and potentially reach people on a bigger platform. I knew I was never going to change Jillian's mind. Like, that was not my intention. But if someone watching in their huge platform can see that there are healthcare professionals who are not holding anti-fat bias beliefs and are fighting up against this mainstream idea that being fat is inherently unhealthy, can that be helpful? Was kind of my why. And then I was like, and maybe if that can happen, it will start the conversation on a broader level.
Yeah.
Whether that happened or not, I'm not sure at this point, but that was my why.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that totally makes sense. And I think to me, what I was struck with so much was how hard it is as a therapist to like debate anyone, because you're just like, everyone, like, there's so much nuance in being a therapist. There's so much nuance also in like this movement, right? Of like, I noticed a lot of points, because that's what debating is. And I think that's what's so hard, is so much debate is just like riding a point into the ground and stripping everything of context and nuance. So I imagine like, and I watched you struggle with it. Like, that must have been so hard to experience in real time, where you don't want to say something that's like stripped of nuance, but you don't know how to not do that when someone is doing that so much to you.
Yeah. Yeah. You nailed it. I mean, that was so hard. What I was the most nervous about was saying something unintentionally harmful to the people who I care about.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to Jillian.
Yeah.
Although I do care about that. I care about my words. My words are like very intentional
Yeah.
usually. Um, but to sit down and what they didn't edit was how
Yeah.
quickly she lashed out at me.
Yeah.
And that was I was so taken aback. You could see it in my, I was like, what's happening?
Right.
And in my therapist head, I was like, I
Yeah.
want to explore that. Why did you just call me your mommy when
Yes.
I didn't say
Oh.
anything condescending or rude to you? But it was a power move. Like
Yes.
it was to make me seem aggressive when I wasn't.
She was belittling
being
you a lot. Like to give people, I'm so bad at like watching interviews or reading books sometimes before I interview people because I forget that like the audience is here and doesn't know what I'm talking about necessarily. But do you want to paint a picture a little bit more, Edie,
Sure.
about like how she ended up accusing you of you thinking that you were her mommy?
Yeah. So what I think is important context for the greater audience is that this claim was actually the third claim that we did.
Okay.
So we had been there for like 3 hours at that point.
Wow. How long was it total?
Like 5.5 hours of filming. It got whittled down to like a little over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that was cut out.
Yeah.
A lot of it was like back end stuff. Also, I think this is a fun fact because people are always like, what? The running to the chair is fake.
Yes. Oh, well, that's good because it seems stressful to me.
Yeah. So yeah, we like the people raise their flags, and then they like cut, and then the people raise your hands, and then the director picks who goes in.
Okay.
What happened with mine is that I was really frustrated because the second claim, I think, was the eating disorder claim. I was like, that's my claim.
Right. Yes, definitely.
That's the one I was the most prepared for.
Yeah, you had, yours was obesity, which
is inherently unhealthy and pretending anything else is dangerous.
Yes. Which, it's hard. Was there a doctor there?
No.
I wish there was a doctor there. That's too bad. But
and then I also went up for the like Maha agenda one, which is like big food is like doing something with body is the biggest like contributor to body positivity or something.
Yeah, like they're profiting the most.
Yeah,
I think from the body positivity movement.
Which we were all like, what are you even talking about?
Right. Like, I thought the girl who debated it though, who started, where she was like, but they also promote, like calorie counting and things like that was a good point, though that wasn't, I don't know, marinated on enough as like that's a really good point. But anyway.
Yeah. So like after the first two claims, which were the eating disorder one and that body positivity is like oversimplified, which were two ones that I felt like the most qualified to talk about.
Yeah.
And also during the eating disorder one, which you don't see is like people were because like we kind of got to talk beforehand and people all knew that I was an eating disorder therapist and they were like, let her go in. Like everyone was like pointing to me and the director didn't let me go in.
Yeah, it seems intentional.
Yeah. Yes. During the break, he came over and was like, well, which one do you want to go in for? And I was like, none of the remaining ones, dude. Like, I really didn't want to go into the O one because I was like, I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I didn't want that to happen. I was like, I know she's going to scream medical terms at me, try and make me look stupid. I don't want to do that. I'm not a doctor. I was like, I do not want to go in for that one. And he was like, well, that's the one you're going to go in. You're going in first. And I was like,
yeah, so that's a lot of pressure.
It was a lot of pressure. But I was like, but I also am not going to come all the way to LA, do all of this preparation and not go in. I was like, I'm brave. I'm strong. I can do this. So that's what. So then, but what's not edited is how quickly I sat down. The only thing they cut out of that conversation, which was like maybe 5 seconds longer, is that I said, I'm Edie. I'm an eating disorder therapist. I've been in the field for 15 years. They cut that. Okay. They cut that, which I think is like a little bit of a F you to me. But they cut that out. And then I start talking about which is debating 101, how I'm going to be using a different term during the debate than she would be using. I said, I'm not going to be using the O word. I'm going to be using that body. And then I ask a very simple question of, do you understand why that word is harmful? And she didn't actually answer that question. She just kind of said, it's just excess body fat.
Yeah.
It doesn't like determine someone's value. And I said, okay, I agree with you.
Yeah. Right.
And then she snapped and goes,
Yeah.
are you going to talk to me like I'm 3 and you're my mommy, or are we going to debate this term?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And from that part, which is what I think people watched and then created an entire story about me and narrative about me. I think some people watched the whole remaining of the clip. I rewatched the whole remaining of the clip actually right before this because I was like, well, what other things are people upset about with me from that? But people are so enraged with me that I don't want to use the O term, which is interesting to me. I mean, from a therapist perspective, like if I'm coming at this from an empathic perspective, which is hard when people are being really unempathetic with me.
Yeah.
But it shows me how important this work is. It shows me how ingrained anti-fat bias is in this world. But the empathic is like how fearful people are of countercultural shifts and changes. And like that just one person choosing autonomy and saying, I'm not going to use this language creates like such a visceral response in them that they then need me to be anti-health, delusional, should have my license revoked, an idiot, and much more verbose language that I'm not going to repeat to keep them in the place that keeps them safe. And it's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it is just like so confusing to me how upset about people get about words.
Yeah.
Like everything is sort of made up when you think about what a word is. And it's just like if someone doesn't like a word that you use or someone finds it offensive or someone wants to use a different word, it's just like, I don't know. It's so confusing to me to not take what someone is saying. Like I get what I just said could be twisted in the opposite way, so I'm being mindful of that. But I just mean like everyone deserves to be able to choose how, especially when it comes to their body. Like who cares, right? Like why can't someone choose how to describe themselves without anyone else it's mind-boggling, like the level of defensiveness that just goes into it all.
And then what's so like where I get like my like justice orientation comes in is I'm like, but then you're screaming at me, like literally, like people will leave multiple comments across my videos being like, fat is so much more offensive. How dare you? And I'm like, okay, then you don't have to use that. But also that is the whole point, is that like, if you look into like the fat liberation movement, is that like fat is actually, if you look at the roots of these words, fat is a neutral descriptor. And it got completely violently taken by society as a moral and value and like the worst thing you could ever be. And the fat liberation movement has worked so hard to neutralize it. And I get that in grand scheme society that has not fully done, which is we can see in the aftermath of this. The O word is a medicalization of bodies, which is from the BMI, which is bullshit. Like it has been like, there's no medical reason that BMI should be used. And also like it got changed overnight. And then like millions of people suddenly went from being quote unquote normal to being in the overweight O category. Yeah. So it's like, there's not actually a reason for this word other than to medically categorize body size and then attach all of these health things to it. And that's what I was trying to get to, but we couldn't because of the way that she responded. And then as we went on, all she wanted to do was throw medical terms at me.
Yes.
And when I got one wrong, although I will say I got the root of the word correct. Adipose fat is excess belly fat. I didn't understand the complex terminology she was using. And then I was like, okay, I'm wrong, whatever. And then people also were like, you were about to cry. And I was like, couldn't have been calmer.
Yeah.
thank you to beta blockers.
I mean, I was going to say I would have cried. So good for you for being calm.
Yeah. But also like, and I was like, and there's nothing wrong with like being emotional in this intense setting. But they're just looking for the weakness in the setting. But I was like, but again, like my social like justice orientation, I'm like, I was not going to cry. I was passionate about what I was saying, and she was saying incorrect things. And also those fact checks that they were putting up were completely skewed. And like that was so frustrating to me. Is that even the first one, but even actually the first one they put up, they were like, it's actually not causal. And that's what I was saying. I was like, what you're saying is incorrect because it's not causal. You're saying causal and it's correlated. And people were then saying that I'm saying that there's like absolutely no risk factors, that I'm anti-health. And I'm like, that's not actually what I said though. And like, that's where like the nuance in this and her reductive fear-mongering approach just like caught fire. And that is, I think, just so unfortunate and so dangerous in this conversation, especially when there's so much weight stigma in medical care that people then aren't going to go to the doctor, which is so dangerous. People are going to continue to have these assumptions around fat-bodied people that they are automatically unhealthy because of their body size, which is what I was trying to say is an incorrect assumption and is lazy medicine. Yeah. And then when I asked her straight up, okay, so what are we supposed to do? Like, let's go and say it. You are correct.
Yes, I loved when you did say that. Yeah.
Weight cycling is more dangerous than just being in a larger body. She didn't answer the question.
Right.
And yet I'm labeled as this like incompetent, delusional, health rejecting person. And it's just like an impossible situation to be in. And I think that's where my issue with Jubilee is that like they set up these moments for virality and rage bait. And they don't actually allow for true conversation and true like debate. Like that wasn't a debate. People kept being like, you got annihilated. And I'm like, no, I didn't, because we didn't actually debate.
Yeah.
And she didn't either. Like neither of us did. Like it was just like we were having like basically two separate conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was someone else who talked about like mental health and can't we talk about how there's like different types of health and things like that. And it was like so interesting how she kept saying those weren't the same thing, but it's like all of this is connected. Like we do mental health is health. It's in the word. Like, sure, if you wanted to specifically debate, which I don't agree with, that like mental health and physical health are totally separate, you could maybe then separate out that argument. But she like agreed with that. And the whole thing is we're talking about it health holistically. And she would agree that it was, but then wouldn't actually get into how you're treated, weight stigma, hating your body every day, even like the idea of like, of course, you're not going to probably take care of yourself in a similar way if you have all this hatred of your body. And that didn't, I mean, I shouldn't have had any expectation that it would make a dent, but yeah, it was shocking, the shield, I guess, of it.
And what I thought was really interesting is that like, they even made like, Jubilee made like a clip of her saying like, that's not the topic, right? Because she was so rigid in her standpoint. And yet she went on so many rants that were not connected to the debate topic. And that was allowable because she has this like celebrity personality. Yeah. And they weren't connected to it. And then she also, I mean, speaking of mental health, she was cosplaying a therapist quite a bit. And they also cut this part out, which was when she, at the end, when she was debating with Marcy, that one-on-one, and she started going into like very much like trauma wounding stuff. Mm-hmm. Myself and the other therapist who was there, Paula, were literally like yelling from the side and like looking at the cameras and being like, stop, like this is not okay.
Yeah.
They cut that out, probably for liability stuff. Yeah. But like, it was wild. And like, you know, the idea of, you know, talking about primal wounds and, you know, good mommy, bad mommy, and, you know, all of these things of like alluding to mental health. And then also, I mean, the asinine claim around like you had to have been sexually assaulted as a child, but then inability to understand the systemic layers of causation or correlation into someone's health is just like those two don't that's like nuance. Like we have to be able to hold space for two hard things to be true at once, and that someone might have developed an eating disorder because of a TV show. That might have happened. It might not be because they have a primal wound, whatever her definition of that is. Or someone might have like a horrific trauma history and not have an eating disorder or not be in a large body.
Totally.
Right? Like those things can exist.
Totally. I thought it was so, I don't know if you saw this. I also watched this. I didn't watch the whole thing, but she did like an aftermath video, I think, talking with one of the women who with Marcy on it. Actually, what I mean, this is slightly off topic, but I was so struck because I think like the mental health of her, like the understanding of her is so fascinating to me. And I was so struck with how there kept being questions about, you know, well, what does your internal dialogue look like? How do you decide what questions to respond with, or like how do you decide who, like what debate to kind of take in? And I think the other allusion was like he asked about her internal monologue, how she kind of deals with, I think, being a celebrity figure and stuff. And it was like fascinating to hear how, I mean, every answer was very, you know, abstract. Nothing was deep at all. Nothing was she never said, this is what I think about. Everything was so vague and such broad brushstrokes of, I just feel what's in my heart, and then I must share what's in my heart, and these are my values and all of that stuff. And it's just fascinating to me. I think there's one part of it that's so interesting of like, how do we deal? Like, I hate the idea that when people become famous enough, it's just like everything is noise. Just tune it out. You just have to get tougher and better at dealing with it. And she gave like the most like asinine example of like some life coach Susie told me that like elephants are gonna walk and someone's got like, it was the most weird example of just like don't listen to anyone. And I don't know, I guess I just like when I see things like this and when you hear public figures like this, it makes me be like, what are we teaching as a society? That like there is this, like, to be this right is so good and you are powerful and smart. And like, obviously this could go down a whole rabbit hole of like the current president of the United States and what's being modeled there as well. Yeah. But like, it's so sad to me that this is what's being modeled. And there is like, we don't respect people culturally right now who are able to like admit wrongdoing or are humble.
Yeah. No, I think that's such a incredible takeaway and point, because there was a moment with one of the debaters, Solstice, where they were talking and Jillian is like, I get death threats. Do you know how many death threats I've gotten? And is trying to create this sense of like vulnerability and like, sad for me. And then Solstice goes, me too. And then Jillian goes, oh, well. And I was like, everyone was like, what? Like, it was like, it only works when there's this false sense of like, see, this is working for me. This is like a PR spin of like, I'm creating a false sense of vulnerability. But when you are trying to use it as someone who's like generally trying to be like, yeah, oh, I'm relating to you. Yeah, me too. This is awful, right? Oh, no, this doesn't. No. It's like such a scary bait and switch. And I think that was a tactic that she used quite a bit to lure people in. And also like the tonality in which she used with people and the sweetie, honey.
Yes.
Except with me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She just called you her mommy.
and like also had like such a different,
Yeah.
which I think is a very interesting.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. I did find out through another debater that she got briefed on all of us who were there.
Huh.
And also she had
So
notes.
interesting.
We were not allowed to bring anything.
Well, that is completely unfair.
Yeah.
Why does she get to have notes and you guys, that's really unfair.
So that made me feel like, made a little bit more sense to me, to like the immediate reaction to me.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, she got briefed on me. Like she knows I'm like really social. Like I'm like the antithesis of who she is. Like she probably expected me to probably also come in more fiery than I was.
Yeah.
And then like when I wasn't, I think when I was as neutral and calm, that my guess is that was potentially even like she wanted to create that dynamic and I didn't give it to her. Anyways. Yeah. But I think that like, it just, the whole like watching it back, like it just really screamed to me like PR trained, like just like this is like media training. Like I'm going to stick to these points. I'm going to call it out when it gets changed. I'm not going to get made to look anyway. I'm going to bring the softer side of Jillian. Like I'm going to like agree that like people should be treated fairly. Like I'm going to use this really soft tonality so that no one can call me out. But I'm also going to say these really horrific things with the sugar-coated voice and like use this like, guys, come on. Like that just creates this sense of like pulling you in and being able to give these really scary messages in this sense of like caring, quote unquote.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That was what I thought too, was just how intensely PR, especially because I didn't have the full context of that she was a trainer picked out of oblivion when she was that young to be on Biggest Loser, which also just made me be like, it feels like, you know, like she, like the way that she just acts like she's an expert in this. I'm just like, girl, you're a trainer. You're a celebrity trainer. Like you are not a doctor. You are not a nutritionist. Like, I mean, they could have actually picked some people who could have, you know, leaned on their training and that would have been different in a, you know, who knows how it would have gone way. But at least then I could have been like, okay, we're at least loosely debating around something compared to I was so struck by just the confidence in what she was just like, obviously I'm right because I'm a trainer. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah. That's what really, I think that's what like made me so angry.
Yeah.
Especially watching it back of like, you're quoting studies, which again, like people who are, and I am not a researcher, I am not a doctor, I am not a nutritionist, right? Like, and I have been in this field for a really long time and I understand data to a certain extent. And it's like, you can cherry pick and you can quote studies.
I know.
And if it's like one study that has not been replicated or peer reviewed, like, yeah, sure, it can show something, but that doesn't make it a good study. Yeah. And so, and also the way,
you also don't factor studies into context.
Yeah. Right.
Who cares?
Right. Like the one that like is like, I would say the one that is like the most like prevalent out there is that like, you know, sugar is as addictive as cocaine.
Yes.
That is not actually true.
Right.
And like, you can feel that way, right? Like like whenever someone comes into my practice and they say that they feel that way, I will validate you till the cows come home. 100%. Yeah. But from a neurological perspective and a biological perspective, that has not been scientifically proven because it's on rats and mice. It's not on humans. And the way that it lights up in humans is the same dopamine response that we get for so many different pleasurable experiences. And that is not the same thing. And so it's like, but people like to get these very, you know, exciting data points and then just run with them. And then it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. Yeah. And then like even, and I was wrong on something that I said with the 95 to 98% of diets fail. That's one that has been run with. And I I got checked on
What is
that.
what is the correct?
It's so
Like
one,
80?
it hasn't been, no, it's like 2/3.
Okay.
And like the other thing that I found when I like actually like looked it
Yeah.
up, and I was like, oh wow, like this hasn't been replicated since like 1954.
Yeah.
It hasn't been studied. So like
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
But like from a subjective standpoint,
Right.
I would say it's
And weight
a high
cycling,
number.
we do have the objective data on
Right.
how gaining weight and losing weight continuously does have like health consequences as well.
And again, health is the thing that's so hard.
Yes.
Health is so complex, as we were talking about earlier. Like, it is not just like certain disease markers, right? Like, and there's so many impacts to it. And something that Leah said, who was the RD who went up, where she was like, the studies that Jillian was quoting, like MRT studies, which I don't even.
MRT is that?
We tried to look it up, and we were like, we don't even know what she's talking about. Like, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
They're like supposed to be like these different type of controlled studies that like take away confounding factors, which I don't understand how that's possible. So
yeah, to me, I'm just like, let's go with peer review. That's that's what we know is the best.
Yeah. So right again, but I'm always willing to learn and be wrong. But like from my understanding of what I did looking into that afterwards, those are not like in the scheme of scientific research what we're looking at. Yeah. And there has been from my understanding to the time of this recording, there's no study, peer-reviewed scientific study that shows causation from being in a fat body to like disease.
All right, if you're listening to this and feeling like something is landing, I want you to pay attention to that, because when that happens, it's not a coincidence. And if you've been thinking about therapy, but you've really had not great luck, you want someone who gets it, not just clinically, but personally, I want to share with you about my practice, Therapy for Women Center. All of our therapists have actually been through the things we treat, whether that's trauma, anxiety, eating disorders, parenthood. When you're sitting there and talking about hard things, you know that the person on the other side really gets it. That's really why I started my practice, because I was sick of going to therapists who didn't fully understand the things that they were treating. At this point, we have over 30 therapists, and we actually hand match you to the right one based on what you're going through. And if we don't get the match right, we'll waive your intake fee and help you switch to another therapist in the practice. We really feel like finding the right therapist shouldn't feel like another thing to white knuckle through. When you reach out to us, you can talk to our intake coordinator, you can email us, you can text us. We'd love to hear from you. We serve 42 states online, in person in the Philadelphia area, but right now we have immediate openings in North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, South Carolina, Ohio. We'd love to support you if you're looking for a new therapist. Reach out to us at therapyforwomencenter.com, or you can text us at 215-847-6749. Well, I think you did a good job, or you tried to also be like, there are so many diseases.
Yep.
Right? Like, and I did think your point was good, though she didn't take it, of like, if we're being this clear, if it's this simplistic that someone in a fat body is not healthy, right? Yeah. There, like you had said, like there is no one disease that only impacts fat people. Like,
and she's like, that's not the claim. And
and it's just like, but you also kind of agreed with me, because again, like we could say, because health is really complicated. Because even like I think about this as a therapist, like there's thousands of symptoms, but like it's not about just, it's why self-diagnosis is not always great, because it's not just about how many symptoms you have. It is like symptoms that cross over in context with your life and other factors, health factors in your life as well. It's why the same thing can present and be 4 different things depending on what's going on with someone.
Yeah. And like I like as a therapist, I am so like mindful and slow and hesitant to diagnose even within the mental health spectrum. Like And what I find fascinating with like the aftermath of this is that people are so angry with me for like being like, that's outside my scope, and being like, you're a terrible therapist for like, for like not saying that there's health risks. And I'm like, one, I never said that.
Yeah.
And two, like, I am never, ever going to tell someone in my practice to change their body.
Yeah.
Are you like, that is so outside that is against my ethics, actually.
Yeah.
So like, even within my scope, I am so mindful of what I am doing, and like going to like take time and mindfulness. And like, I would also never like tell someone what medication they should be on, because that's way outside my scope. I might be like, have you explored medication? Talk to your doctor.
Right.
But I'm not going to be like, this is the medication that you should be taking, because I don't know.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm very interested also, Edie, like I think the other big part of this is, what was the backlash to all of this? Because obviously I saw some of the clips going viral and stuff like that, but I agree with the people debating. So I wasn't like shocked. It wasn't showing up on my feed really to engage me, because I'm not rage baited by this. But tell me what it looks like so that people have an awareness, and then how has it been for you?
Yeah. So this is totally my naivete. I knew I was going to get some negative feedback because how huge their platform is, and like the way that they work, and like who they've platformed in the past. And also because of what we talked about before, is that Jillian's not just a fitness trainer. She is aligned with MAGA and MAHA. Yeah. And so I was like, this is going to be a different breed of people who are viewing this. So I was like, I'm going to get a little bit. But I also like, I watched it back and I was like, in my head, I was like, I didn't say anything egregious. I didn't do anything like.
Well, I think that's why I was surprised that clip, because I was just like, I don't get it.
You and me both, girl. I actually thought the Maha one was going to create way more fever than it did. That one, I was like shocked that one was fine. Yeah.
Because in the clip, for people that haven't seen it, what is like the overall clip?
The Maha one?
No, the other one. The other one that went viral and stuff.
So the one that went viral is, I sit down, I say, I'm not using the O word. She calls me, says, stop talking to me like I'm 3 and you're my mommy. And then we go in, she starts being, and I say, I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. Yeah. And I say, where are you getting your information that being O is inherently unhealthy? And she goes, oh, let me tell you. And she like pulls out her paper and starts spieling into some very fear-mongery stuff around being in diseases, processes. And then she asked me specifically what like anaposopathy is. Yes. And she goes, do you know what that is? And I said, yes. Because I thought she was just talking about anapostat. I didn't realize that she was talking about a process. And she goes, well, what is it? And I said what I thought it was. And she goes, no. Yes. It's blah, 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 blah. And she goes, see, you don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, hey, can we pause? And she goes, of course you want to pause, like very aggressively. And I was like, oh my God. I was like literally putting my hands up. And I was like, I am not a doctor. I'm willing to be wrong. I was like, I can't talk to you about complex medical stuff. Yeah. And so then we like kind of start to stop that. Yeah. And then like I ask her about like weight cycling. And then I say like, what are we supposed to do? And then she tries to go back into the medical stuff. And I'm like, stop. I'm like, you're talking to me so disrespectfully. Yeah. Like, remember before when you thought I was talking to you disrespectfully? Like, you're doing it now. And then she kind of backs off a little bit. And then then I'm like, I think I ask about like weight cycling and like, what is someone supposed to do? And then I get voted out. Yeah. And that was it. It was like a 2.5 minute clip.
Okay. And that whole clip is the clip that people are so upset about. Yes. And they're upset because of how she schooled you.
Yeah. So people think that I would say let's see, the top three things.
Yeah.
That I won't use the O word.
Yeah.
That is outrageous.
Yep.
They think I was condescending to Jillian. And they think I'm anti-science.
Got it.
And like in denial, delusional in denial. Within that, there's like...
I love when anti-science people accuse other people of being anti-science.
Yeah. No, it's really wild. I've had like a couple, like I want to start positive. I've had a couple of really wonderful interactions with people where they've started off really mad, but have left certain comments where I'm like, this feels like I can connect. There's something in here where it's not like you're name calling me or you're like telling me that I got demolished or like you're just coming in angry and like with no purpose. And we've had a back and forth where it's like, we're not, again, the intention is not to change either one of our minds, but to be able to better understand where we're coming from. Like one in particular was, I didn't know at the time, but she was also a therapist.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she was like, asked me if I'd heard of like a specific doctor.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm curious of like how you can say this. And like, have you heard of this guy? And I hadn't heard of the doctor. I looked him up and it seemed like he was kind of like I don't know, not someone who I would align with. Yeah. I was like, I don't know who he is, but I was like, I don't know who that is. But I was like, you're making an assumption. Cause I think she said something like you're unethical as a therapist. And I was like, actually, I'm not. Like, I'm curious how you're making that assumption based off what I said. Like, I work from a health at every size approach, which is health promoting behaviors. And like, I work with a whole team. Like, I have a medical doctor on most of my cases. And she still kind of came back defensive, being like, well, I hope the medical doctor is telling your patients their risks. And I was like, what? But like, why are you assuming this? Right. And I was like, I hope you can understand that like, these are big assumptions based on a 2-minute clip. And like, she said she was a therapist. I was like, and as a therapist, like, the amount of like assumptions and negative feedback like is really overwhelming. And like when we can actually have these back and forth. And then she was like, you're right. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is really interesting. Okay. And thank you for taking the time to respond. And I was like, great.
Yeah.
We're not going to agree. But like, this was a calm, back and forth, respectful experience. And I really appreciate it. And that I'm totally willing to do. Like, I'm absolutely willing to engage in a conversation with someone who is like, has openness and is able to like experience nuance. But the vast majority of people, especially the first week, nowhere in my life could I have anticipated. It was thousands of comments of you should have your license revoked, you're delusional, you got destroyed, you're an idiot. I mean, and people were then using like, and this actually happened this morning, I got like, sometimes it's so random, like using the R word. I'm like, you didn't want me to use the O word and you're using the R word? Like,
absolutely.
Like I'm like, this is bananas behavior. And that it's like considered acceptable to like, because you disagree with someone to just go and make character judgments on someone in this scale, and then they pile on each other. And it's like, again, if it's one comment, like, again, you tell me I got demolished, like, okay, that's your opinion. I think it's kind of funny. But then it's like, they'll leave like 5 comments all over my videos. And then the other thing people would do would just leave the O word over and over and over and over again on all of my videos. And I'm like, this is okay. I have to protect my audience. Like the people who are here on purpose in my tiny little corner of the internet, like they don't need to see that. Or like another thing they started, I'm like, there must be some place that they're.
I know. It makes me, it's so hard. From. What is a bot and what is not a bot anymore? Who knows?
Where they were, because I do like Trader Joe's food reviews, which is like to help like normalize eating and like joyful eating. And then they were coming in and like listing ingredients of the foods to try and scare people, I think, or like listing calories. And so now I'm like, this is just like a full-time job of like having to like go in and block people. And like the first week was awful. Like, 'cause I've never experienced anything like this.
So this was just like on YouTube and like other places, and then
Yeah.
they were finding their way
Yeah.
onto your page and stuff like that. Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not like it's just like a video that you can just like mute the comments for or something like that.
No, they were just finding me. And like people were also emailing my practice.
Oh my gosh.
And like, you know, it's just I had one person, I was like a little bit scary. Like one person like DM'd me, called my business line, sent me an email, like was like, and I was like, this is so intense. Like,
yeah.
And it was all because that one was just because of the like me not wanting to use the O word, like saying that, you know, people are, it's just, I had this guy and trainer in Miami made a whole like hate reel about me. He has like over 200,000 followers.
Wow.
And then all his followers came for me.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, and in his, I responded and then I blocked him, but like in his comments.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get to respond to what he was like really saying in the reel. I was just responding to the asinine assumptions he was making about me. But in his reel, like he's posturing as this expert about eating disorders. He was making all of these claims about eating disorders. I was like, excuse me, I didn't even get to say that because I was like, stop. Yeah. Stop. But it was awful. I mean, like, and it really like makes me think about our culture and how normal it is to just like go after people when you disagree with them. And I was like, I have never left a hate comment in my life. Even when I completely disagree with someone, I've never left a hate comment.
I know. I think all the time, I'm like, I wish I could interview someone who is a troll, sort of. Not like just a, you know, posturing sort of troll, but someone who like genuinely thinks you're helping. I would love to interview them. I would never be able to, and they would never want to talk to me. And also I probably wouldn't be able to handle it. But like the psychology of it is fascinating. Like the people are like, I'm doing, like I'm helping.
Yeah. I mean, like I can, again, like if I look at it from like a more like macro sense, like I can imagine there's like this weird sense of community. Then like in the comment section of like, how many likes can I get?
Yes.
Are people going to respond to my comment? Like, is the author or is like the person going to respond? Yes. Like there must be like some sort of like dopamine community based.
Yeah. It's such, experience. You get to be right. It's so great. And you're the right person.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's really hard for me to not like want to defend and respond because I'm like, you're so wrong. Like you're wrong about me. Like, especially when it's like, they're completely incorrect.
Right. Exactly. It's like, I do love when people like tell you about your life and, and you're like, what? Yeah. Like I had a post, it was like 2 weeks ago. It was about actually my husband and like our relationship with, and how like I struggle with like eating certain textures and things like that. So he loves to make these like ridiculous meals. We also have a 3-year-old. So like when he's making some of these like really elaborate meals, I of course get frustrated because no one else is eating this Peking duck besides him. Yep. And I used to call him selfish about it. And like the whole arc of the story, which like I protected him on some of this because I didn't want everyone to go like, you know, being mean to him. But like the whole arc of the story is like we learned to communicate. We figured it out. He understood like, you know, how it came across for me and I understood him more. And, you know, the whole lesson is curiosity. And the amount of people that were just like, screw you. You have the palate of a picky toddler. Like, go learn how to eat. It's so disrespectful to other people. Like, your husband should leave you. Like, I'm just like you. Like, what else? Just like, I can't believe you only eat chicken breast. I'm just like, guys, where did I say that I only eat chicken breast? I said I don't eat Peking duck.
It's so wild. And like, like these extreme assumptions, like where is it coming from? What is happening?
And then I love when like they're educating other people about you.
Oh yeah.
Like, hello.
Yeah, that's happened a lot in my comment
Yeah.
section. I'm like,
Like,
oh,
this
that's
girl
so
did this.
fascinating, guys.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so challenging because it's like there's nothing truly. The best thing to do is like not engage, but it's really hard when it's incorrect information about you and it's on like your own in your own space that like you've curated and created and like when they're attacking and like it's just it's so challenging and like unfortunate and like but when people are willfully misunderstanding
Yeah.
there's not going to be a productive conversation. And it's like what do you do? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's like I don't know.
Is there anything else, Edie, that you wanted to touch on that we didn't get into or cover?
I mean, I think for people who have not seen the debate and are just like listening to this, I just want to give like a very, I don't know, like cautionary warning. Like, don't watch it.
Yeah.
We don't need the views. I mean, there's, I think when I went to look this morning to see it, it's like that 5 million views. Like it has done its thing. But there's not a lot, I would say if you're going to watch it, honestly, like watching Tigress's parts, Tigress Osborne, she's the president of NAFTA, which is the National Association of Fat Activism. I think that's correct. Her sections are what the whole thing should have been. But otherwise, there's not a lot in there that is actually, I believe, like worthwhile of like education or time. Like even like I'm like I don't need to, no one needs to see it. It's not that's not what it's about. But I think that that's where I feel like disappointment is that like it just feels like it was a platforming of someone who's already spewing a lot of really dangerous rhetoric.
And I think it's like the structure of it, right? I think is so challenging. And I've seen the feedback on this before you even went on it or anything, right? Is sort of like it is this false premise in a way of like, let's encourage debate, but it is like really not in that it's really like a rage bait factory.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only one that I've seen that like successfully did it was Dr. Mike's.
Okay.
Like the anti-vaccine people. Like and that's that was my context going into it.
But like it should be an expert, I think, debating people who are maybe more normal, regular people. It's like a weird inverse power dynamic with someone who isn't educated really on it and then a bunch of people who are, but the person who's in the hot seat is going to try to maintain that control, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. But he did it in a way that was so like, he was so kind and like he was not rage baiting and he was so patient and he was so open-minded and he held so much nuance while also holding such a clear line around his expertise and like not allowing for like anti-science rhetoric to continue, but being like so compassionate and validating to people's fears. And so like, that's what I watched before. And I was like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah. So,
well, so interesting. So fascinating. Edie, where can people learn more about you or connect with you kindly?
On my Instagram, I will say, like, I'm sorry if you see I try my best to just block out the comments, but they sneak in there pretty quick.
Yes.
But at Edie Stark Therapy on Instagram, I have 2 different websites. My therapy practice is Stark Therapy Group. And then I have ediestark.com, which is more for like consulting and stuff like that. And you can learn about all the things I do on there at both.
Amazing.